Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Catfishing Carp YouTube channel. Me and my little boy Nate here are going to talk to you about how to find catfish in the winter time. Now, I thought I could do this maybe sitting in my living room or garage, but wouldn't it be more fun to talk to you about these tips while I actually try them out? So here we are in the winter time here in Virginia. We're going to go catfishing, and I'm going to talk you through exactly how you find catfish in the wintertime, and as I talk about it, I'm going to show you examples of what I'm talking about. All right?
Yeah.
Well, listen guys, you may have noticed that I'm sitting on a very nice little boat with about a $2,000 side imaging sonar unit, and you may be thinking to yourself, yeah, these are really great tips if you've got a boat and fish sonar, but I don't, so what good is it to me? Listen, all of these tips I'm going to give you, they're the same whether you're boat fishing or bank fishing, whether you got sonar or not, because frankly, let's face it, if you can't catch fish, a boat ain't gonna help you. And fish sonar doesn't actually tell you where to look for fish. All it does is tell you when you found the fish, okay? You still have to figure out where to look. And so what I'm gonna do is talk to you about how to find fish in rivers and lakes in the wintertime, okay? All right guys, let me tell you a little bit about our weather patterns. Right now, the water temperature is right at 40 degrees, and there's little skiffs of ice here and there on the surface of the lake I'm on. We had a decent sheet of ice on the lake earlier this week. It was highs in the 20s and low 30s earlier this week, but today it's about low 50s right now. So we've had this sudden spike up in temperature. It's melted a lot of the ice, and I think it's gonna make for some good fishing. When you're fishing for catfish in the wintertime, the temperature of the water and the relative temperature of the air is everything. It affects the catfish's behavior more than any other factors. Knowing and understanding where the warmest water is key. The catfish are desperately trying to stay warm. Even if it's just a degree or two difference, it makes a big deal. So if you can understand where the warmest places are, you will understand where the catfish are going to be and how they're going to behave. This holds true in both lakes and in rivers. What you tend to find is that the catfish are spread out all over the reservoir or the river or the lake, and they're pretty evenly dispersed in the summertime. But once the water temperature drops below around 60 degrees or so, the catfish start congregating in the main bodies of the river and in the deeper parts of the lake. There's these wintering grounds where they like to hang out over the winter time, and the fish collect in these wintering holes in great concentrations. Flathead catfish tend to shut down the most during the winter time, and they actually enter into a semi-hibernative state. When it's really cold, they'll pile up in these tight clusters of fish, and they'll just bury in the mud or lay on the bottom and just kind of go to sleep. But they're not completely hibernating. They will come out and feed from time to time. If you drop something right in front of their face, you can tempt them into biting. And if the water temperature goes up a little bit, they'll come out of their slumber and go and hunt a little bit. This is true even in really cold places where there's ice on the lake. Some of the really big flatheads have been caught ice fishing before. But of the major species of catfish, they are probably the least active and the hardest to catch in the wintertime. Blue catfish are on the other end of the spectrum. Some people say that the best blue catfishing is in the wintertime. January, February, big trophy blue catfish are fairly active in the wintertime, and they stay pretty active in the wintertime. Channel catfish are somewhere in between, and bullheads tend to be fairly active in the wintertime. I've caught a lot of bullheads through the ice fishing. But all of these fish have their wintering holes, okay? And finding out where these wintering holes is really important, because all of their behavior in the wintertime tends to be relative to these wintering holes. These wintering holes tend to be deeper, and they tend to be near the mouths of rivers that are dumping into either the river or the lake. They tend to be in 20 feet or more of water, and they tend to be in places that the temperature stays pretty consistent throughout the wintertime. Occasionally you'll find wintering holes that are man-made, like places where power plants dump warm water into a river or lake, or places where there's a warm water spring, or there's a sewer treatment plant that dumps warm water. Even places like where you have a creek or a river that goes through cities and it's just naturally warmer than other creeks or rivers. Those sort of man-made warm water features can attract fish and become wintering holes. A lot of reservoirs, you'll have these fingers going out, where all these little fingers of the reservoir are, and where those fingers congregate, right at the mouth of those fingers, tends to be good places to look for these wintering holes. They're really easy to find if you have fish finders, because there'll be piles of fish in the bottom of these holes, and it's hard to miss 30-40 catfish all in one small spot. It's not just catfish that follow these patterns. A lot of fish do this. The shad generally do it, the carp tend to do it, and a lot of the panfish as well. If you look here we are in one of the fingers of a reservoir. It's 38 degrees, and look at it. There is absolutely nothing on the fish finder. In the summertime, this place is alive with fish. Bluegill, shad, crappie, bass, catfish, carp, tons of fish are in this location normally when the water temperature is over 55, 60 degrees. It's 38 degrees, and for the next 30 minutes, I'm gonna drive over a barren wasteland. Once you find good wintering holes, that's not enough to catch fish, because the fish are constantly moving in and out of these wintering holes. And it all has to do with the relative temperature of the air versus the water. When the air temperature is much lower than the water temperature, the catfish and the carp and all the other fish, they try to get down deep in the deepest part of those wintering holes. They want to get as far away from that cold air as possible. When the relative air temperature is higher than the water, then the fish move out of the deep parts of the holes and they want to go to the shallow spots near their wintering holes. Now, it's important to understand where the wintering holes are, because the fish aren't going to travel miles to get to someplace warm when the air temperature pops up for half a day or 2 or 3 days. They're going to find someplace warm that's close to the wintering hole. If it's really cold, they're going to go to the deepest spot that's near the wintering hole. And if it's really warm out, they're going to go to the shallow spot that's near the wintering hole. All right, guys, let me give you a practical example of how to use this information. Right here is a known wintering hole. You can see how steep the bank is. There's a little bit of a cliff right over there. It's very steep. That steepness continues down to about 25 feet. Whenever you're trying to find a deep spot, look at the shore. When the shore is steep, the bank often leads to deep water. And we can tell from the fish finder that that's exactly right. There's about 25 feet of water here in this tight little hole. It's the deepest spot around for about a quarter mile each direction. So it makes it unique. It's not just deep, but it's uniquely deep, okay? And that makes it a really good wintering hole. But right underneath the boat where I am, I'm sitting on about 7 feet of water, okay? There's a nice big flat, wide open shallow right here, and there's one right over there. So we've got shallow water near some deep water. And because the water temperature is 15 degrees lower than the air temperature today, the fish are gonna be shallow. They're gonna try to take advantage of that warm air and get shallower. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cruise around this hole and see if my theory is right. See if the fish are in the shallows. They should be on the shallow side of the ledge leading to the deep hole. I'm gonna head right towards those steep banks, and we're gonna see what we see. Okay, right now we're about 6 feet. All right, and it's starting to drop. There we go, oh look, right there, there's a fish, there's a fish, there's a fish, there's a fish. Like they're right on the side of the slope, right about 10, 15 feet. Oh, look at that, there's some shad right in there. And see, there's some fish right up in there. Looks like a big school of shad, and there's some catfish eating on the school of shad down there. Yeah. All right, let's see what's on the other side of the hole. Okay, so now we're at about 22 feet. Oh, there's the slope. There's some fish laying right on the slope. Not too many up in the shallows. Well, guys, that was a great example of how theory doesn't always mesh 100% with real life, but it still kind of proves the point, right? I expected the fish to be hugging the sides up near the hole near the top. The fish were mostly on the sides, but they're about 2/3 the way down, okay? And there was quite a bit of action going on in the dead center bottom of the hole, which I wouldn't have expected with this warm weather. These are general patterns. They're not 100%, and you know, sometimes we're wrong. But what it did show you is there was a butt ton of fish in that hole. Now the question is, what type of fish are they? Because lots of fish follow these winter patterns. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bust out my cast net and we're gonna go chuck them on top of some of those bigger signals and see what's down there. All right, let's do it. Look at this. Look at that. Look at those carp. Let's see if I can get them out without taking them in overboard. All right, well, we gotta untangle them. Here we go. Oh, there he goes. Oh, nice fish. Look at that. But you saw that? It was a massive largemouth bass and 2 big carp, all wintering in the same hole. They're not here for the food, they're here because of the temperature. Oh, man, it's all about temperature in the wintertime. Let's get this guy back in. Well, that was pretty cool. Those are 2 nice carp and a big bass. Now, the carp and the bass aren't all in the same spot because they're eating the same things. No, they're there because the water temperature, okay? But I think there's some more catfish in that spot, not just carp and bass. So I'm gonna go throw my cast net on that school of shad I saw in the sonar earlier, and then we're gonna see if we can't pull some catfish out of this hole as well, and see if that doesn't prove my point that a lot of different species of fish all follow this same general pattern. Let's see what we got. Holy mackerel. Look at that. There's plenty of shad down here.
Plenty of shad.
Oh, let's let some of them go. We don't need all that shad.
We don't need all of that shad. We want some more. Oh, rainbow. And I will handle it. And I will
take it, squeeze them through the net. Okay, pull the net through, and then put them in the bucket. Oh, look at you got slimy fish hands. Yes, that means you're a fisherman. Yeah. Well, we've pulled carp, largemouth bass, and shad out of this same wintering hole. We're gonna go ahead and try to anchor up right on the side of the hole where we have access to cast to the side and the middle. And we're gonna see if we can't pull some catfish out too. There's the spot I wanna hit. Look at that. That's what I want right there. All right, you got the anchor, bud? Here, let me get it close. Here. Can you push it over? Okay, can you push it? So I found kind of a crescent-shaped bit of water I want to fish right in there. And what I did is I come around and I drop my anchor right on the edge of it. So I didn't quite drop the anchor on the fish. Then I back up the boat, I drop the second anchor off the back, and then I tighten up both ropes like a hammock, and that'll put me in great position to bomb rods all over that spot at different depths. What's the matter, Nate?
I can't get up.
Oh, you've fallen and you can't get up. In the summertime, I like to use live shad because there's a lot of flatheads out and about. But the flatheads kind of shut down in the wintertime and they're hard to catch. And the blue cats and the channel cats tend to work a little bit better on cut bait. And the cut bait goes further. So I do cut bait in the wintertime mostly.
Hey.
All right, so I'm just taking half a shad and I'm hooking the hook through the back, which is the toughest part, and making sure there's no scales on the hook point. I'm using 10-aught and 8-aught circle hooks, and I've got 3-ounce disc sinkers on sliders with a little bead and a swivel. Well, I've just had time enough to bait and cast out all my rods, and we've already had one fish on, got away. Felt like a little channel catfish. And it's starting to rain on us, which the only thing better than fishing in the cold in the wintertime is doing it in the rain. So we'll see what happens. Nate, are you throwing my bait overboard?
I'm just going to leave 2.
Just leave 2? Please do. Please don't throw any more over. Well, we got some chumming going on over there. Well, I just looked at the radar and we've got a bit of a rainstorm coming. So I think I'm gonna pop up the bimini top. But this warm rain can do really great things to the fishing. Nothing will raise the water temperature faster than warm rain, and that's exactly what we got. It's supposed to be 55 degrees is when the storm passes. So the water temperature here is like 38. So that's a big difference. That rain's going to really up the temperature. And it's going to up the temperature more in the small creeks and rivers and storm drains and that sort of thing, which a bigger percentage of their flow is going to be made up of rainwater. So what you need to find when you're in the wintertime and you have one of these warm rainstorms come through is fish the mouth of creeks and rivers. If you can find a wintering hole that's near one of those features, that's going to be a great spot to look. One of the keys to success in the wintertime is staying mobile. If you're not catching fish, move. And the reason for this is simple. Catfish are much more stationary in the wintertime. They don't move around as much. So sitting there and waiting for a fish to come to you is a bad strategy in the wintertime most of the time. So what I do is I find a spot like this where I think it's good. I'll cast my bait out, and if I don't get a bite in 15 minutes, I'll move. And I might move the whole boat, or I might pick up my rods and recast them, but I'm moving something, because I'm not just going to sit and wait for the catfish to come to me. And if they haven't bit in 15 minutes, it means I'm not putting my bait on top of catfish. Well, so far I've had 2 good bites. I had a fish that was on that popped off here, and we had a pretty good bite there. But let's give this a little bit longer and see if we can't reel something in. Look, there's one right there in the corner is biting. See him? Yeah. It's just rod's just going teet, teet, teet. Hey, you got him, get him, give him, reel him. Oh, I can see him. Oh, he's feisty. Look at that. Let me show you. See this right here? See all that mud on his belly? That's because he's way down buried in the mud. All right, Nate, you want to throw him back in? Yeah. Okay, 1, 2, 3, yeah! Off he goes. Well, we've been here about 5 minutes. We've had about 3 bites and 1 fish in the boat. That's pretty typical winter fishing. It's, you know, can be just amazing. I catch more catfish in the wintertime than I do in the summertime. Just the sheer numbers of them, because they're concentrated. You know, this is a massive body of water, and all the fish are huddled in a handful of locations. So when you're on, it's just on it, man. It's just incredible numbers you can catch out of a single hole. And if you're not in the right spot, doesn't matter what you do, you just won't catch diddly squat. So that's why it's important to stay mobile, because if you're not catching stuff, you're in the wrong place. Oh, there's a nice hit. There's a nice hit.
Oh, that is red.
No, that's the double.
Yeah,
those are some nice fish. Let's get yours first. Look at that, huh? Those are 2 very respectable channel catfish. Good job, buddy.
And there's teeth in there.
Yeah, there's teeth in there. That's about an 8-pound channel catfish right there. We got 2 of them. Whew, that's a heavy one. Here we go. Maybe a hair smaller. Maybe a 7-pounder. Okay, here we go. All right, you gonna get that one, Nate? Yeah. See, Nathan, what you wanna do is you wanna wait till the rod tip goes down and stays down for 2 or 3 seconds. Doesn't really matter how far it goes down, just that it stays down for 2 or 3 seconds. Then you wanna reel it up in the rod holder until it loads up, and then fight the fish. I've caught more 40 and 50 pounders in the dead of winter than I can keep track of. It's a great way to catch a lot of fish. And when I go channel catfish fishing in the wintertime, it's not uncommon to put up 90 to 100 pounds of fish a day. Oh, more fish. Yeah, he's on. There we go, little guy. There we go, greedy little channel catfish all covered in mud. Get him back. Another beautiful channel catfish. Not sure why all my pizza always tastes like shad. Maybe I should wash my hands more. You know, obviously having a boat helps. That's why I bought one. But if you're a bank fisherman, don't be discouraged. I mean, there's still lots of great places where you can access these wintering fishing holes from the bank. You know, look right there. That shoreline, that person's dock over there, that's all easy casting distance to this same wintering hole, okay? And there's plenty of places where you can find castable access to the deep water where the fish are wintering. It's just a little bit harder than if you have a boat. You having fun there, Nate? When you're trying to master the art of finding fish, especially in the wintertime, practice in small ponds and small lakes, because it's just so much easier to find the fish there. On big, huge lakes and bodies of water, you can spend hours looking for fish, even if you know what you're doing. On a small lake, there's only so many places they can hide, and you can reach almost all of it from the shore. So you can sit there, and in one day, by just popping spot after spot in quick succession, you can cover the whole body of water and really figure out what's going on very quickly. It's a lot easier to master a small body of water. And once you're comfortable understanding how the fish are affected by the different weather patterns and temperatures, you can take that knowledge and apply it to a bigger body of water with a lot more confidence. Oh, that's a fat one. Oh. Now that is a nice channel catfish. Just about 10.5 pounds. 10.5 pound channel catfish. What a beautiful fish. There you go. Whew, chewed up my thumb. You know, the principles I'm explaining to you apply to rivers as well as lakes. There's these general wintering holes. There's these spots, often with current breaks, that are very popular with the fish in the wintertime. The fish tend to congregate there, and the fish will move in and out of those wintering holes depending on the weather conditions. Some really great places to catch blue catfish is in the dead of winter on a sunny, nice day. You go and find some shallow flats, you know, 4 to 6 feet deep, right next to one of these big wintering holes. You can just absolutely crush it. Look at this. The hook went through the fish's lip and into the tree limb. How crazy is that? There you go. Another chunky channel. This one's just as big as the last one. Look at that. I can't even get my hands completely around that. That is another 10+ pound channel catfish. Whew, what a beast. Oh, another beefy channel cat. Another chunky, healthy channel cat. Look at that guy. See right there? See that? You want to feel it? Feel it with your finger right there.
No.
It won't hurt you. It's just rough. See? A lot of people ask me what time of day they should go fishing for catfish, and I find that in the summertime, nighttime, you know, sunset, sunrise is best time by far to catch catfish. In the wintertime, middle of the day seems to be a bit better. And it's all about temperature. When the water's too hot, the fish are more active when it's cool. When the water's too cold, the fish are more active when it's warm. So it's all about finding that ideal temperature. Well, the runty fish of the day prize goes to this guy. There's the tiny one of the day. Well, thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video and learned a few tips. If you'd like to see more great videos from the Catfish and Carp YouTube channel, don't forget to
subscribe.
Nailed it. Thanks for watching, guys. We put out new videos every Saturday morning. And don't forget to check out our other channel, the Outdoor Boys YouTube channel. We have great tool restoration, knife making, blacksmithing, hunting, trapping, all sorts of crazy stuff on that channel. Thanks for watching, guys.